Welcome to the Beyond 22 podcast. I'm Jason Garrett, today's host. Mike couldn't join us today, but I'll be interviewing Chef Stevan, a friend of mine that I met in Archie's Acres, the course that we talked about on the previous episode. Mike couldn't join us, but he watched the show and recorded himself watching the show and adding commentary, so he'll be there with us, but he won't be involved in the conversation. And like always, please help us reach as far as we can and help as many people as we can by subscribing to our channel, liking and sharing our videos, and telling everyone you know about this show. You can also follow us on Facebook, Spotify, and Apple Podcast at Beyond 22 Podcast. And now let's go to the show. Man, that gym's loud in the back.
Oh, is it?
Check out the shirt.
Would you just get done working out?
I was in a class.
Oh, what kind of class? Like
a high interval training.
Oh, okay.
It sucks because I can't do lower body, so everything's upper body, so I'm just getting exhausted on my arms and everything.
Oh, wow.
It's a little quieter in here. Let's go into the pool.
Yeah, are you having to walk with a like a cane or any? It looks like you're walking with a limp from here.
Oh yeah, well I can't hold my phone in my crutches.
So you do have crutches.
Yeah, is it quieter in here?
Stop for a second. Let me see. Yeah, it seems quieter in there.
I'll go sit over here.
Okay.
Dude, the water here is so nasty. I don't know how people swim here.
Oh, you mean in the pool?
Yeah.
Are you in the same room with the pool right now?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. I just got out of the pool, man. I was, and it's cold as shit outside. I mean, my pool's cold, man. But
yeah, man, I need to get in the pool.
Hell, it's like 80 degrees today, man. It was like 0 degrees with wind chill like 3 days ago.
Damn.
That's crazy. It's like an 80-degree difference. And
yeah, San Diego's
so my pool's still cold as shit. Do what?
San Diego's trying to figure itself out. It's like in the last 2 months, there's 3 days it didn't rain.
Oh, what? Really?
Yeah. And then like 2 days ago, it didn't rain. It rained yesterday, and then today and tomorrow it's supposedly going to be sunny.
Well, you guys are usually in like a drought forever.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, we got like 10 years of non-drought.
Anyways, welcome to the show, man. So glad to have you on.
Glad to be here.
So tell us a little bit about yourself, Stevan.
Well, did 8 years in the military. It was started off at cryogenics, logistics, and then I switched to search and rescue.
Wow.
Wait, cryogenics?
Yeah.
What is that? Like
the liquid oxygen that the pilots breathe.
Oh, okay.
99.7% pure. And then the liquid nitrogen, I can't remember the number, but I think it's like negative 321 degrees. It keeps the brakes from catching on fire when they land.
This was in the Air Force, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm sorry to get you off track, but I was just caught by that. So continue. You got to cryogenics, and then you went. What was the next?
I got to switch to search and rescue.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's cool.
And then I did the next 6 years of that.
Okay.
Got out, tried to figure out what to do. Saw a commercial on the Art Institute for San Diego for culinary school and went there.
Oh, wow.
That's cool, man.
Been cooking for 11 years.
Oh, man. That's awesome. Okay. So were you a chef when we met?
Yeah.
You were, weren't you? Because when we went around to the different places in San Diego, you knew all about where to buy the produce and stuff already. So that was an added bonus to our group.
Well, that's pretty
I knew
cool.
where to go. I know who's providing, supplying, who uses what, all the chefs. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
I've been in this industry for about 11 years, so
Oh wow, so you
That's
must
pretty
like
I
it.
know a
badass,
lot of
man.
people. Yeah.
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 And
That's
you're
cool, man.
starting a restaurant now, huh?
Yeah, in between two projects, one of them is like a Sonoran barbecue in East Village, downtown San
Wow.
Diego, and another one is like casual, more pizza, pasta, steaks in northern San Diego.
Did you say
That
a
one would be
Pasta.
Did you say a
Sonoran.
Samoan barbecue?
Sonoran, like
Sonora.
Mexico.
Oh,
Sonora, like Sonora.
Oh, man.
You know,
I'm glad
who
you
eats
made
chicken here,
that
dude.
clear. So, fill anyone in like myself that don't really know what that means.
So, like in Sonora, it's more of like a desert region. So,
Oh, it's a certain part of
Mhm.
Mexico
yeah,
Yeah,
that
yeah,
this,
but
that this type of culinary comes from.
yeah, they use like a lot of vegetables that don't need heavy amounts of water, like squash.
yeah.
The idea of what Texas barbecue is kind of comes from Sonora, using all those spices, cooking underground or smoking foods, stuff like that.
That's
Oh,
cool.
wow.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool. That's really neat. I never knew that. So, so what made you join the military?
Honestly, 9/11 kind of came around.
Oh, so you joined
And
like right after 9/11.
I tried to.
Oh,
They
yeah.
wouldn't let me in. They wouldn't let me in because my shoulder was separated, and so I had to go get surgery. Then I was able to join 6 months later.
Okay.
Okay. And what made you join the Air Force?
My uncle wouldn't let me be a Marine. He was former
So you
Air
wanted to
Force.
go in the Marines, but your uncle wouldn't let you.
Yeah, he was like, join those jarheads. And to be honest, if I would have joined the Marine right after 9/11, who knows where I'd be, if I'd still be alive. I'm like, yeah, that would be a whole nother story.
Yeah.
I know that's right.
Well, CSAR, it's a pretty dangerous job too, man. I mean,
Yeah.
because you're going to rescue
I'm not front
somebody.
lines, but yeah. Yeah.
Well, you could be behind the front lines going to get somebody.
That's
I
true.
mean, that's a pretty dangerous job,
Very
really.
true.
Most people don't know what that is, and that's search and rescue, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
So tell a little bit about that and how you got into that.
It's pure luck, honestly. It's like my first deployment, I was out there filling up this C5 that had this 4-star general on it. He comes out and he's like, oh, it's fine. It's good to get some fresh air and talking. And I'm over there, like, with my 3 little stripes on my uniform.
2 or 3 star general?
Holding some weight, bro.
Oh, yeah, he was 3. He was a 3-star.
3 stripes and 3 stars.
Yeah. And he's talking to me, and he's just like, you look insanely bored. I'm like, yeah. So you've been lifting while you've been stuck out here? I'm like, there's nothing else to do.
Uh-oh.
At the time, I put on maybe 24 pounds of solid muscle, just lifting 2.5 hours a day, 6 days a week.
Oh, wow.
And so we got to talking, and he's like, we got this new regimen kind of coming out to cut time for how long it takes to be like a pararescue, which is, I believe it's 2 years.
Oh, yeah.
So
Yeah.
to advance that with the cause of the war and everything, and anytime there's ever a budget cut, military's first. So they were trying to figure out ways to, advance search and rescue, especially. I think it was right around that time was when the Mark Wahlberg movie thing had happened with those guys, where they lost all those Navy SEAls.
The one with the Navy SEAls, yeah.
Yeah.
Gotcha, I understand.
The one that got away,
like 2 months.
Cliffs.
Based on the book, The One That Got Away.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
That had happened like a couple of months prior. And I guess, the loss of losing 20 Navy SEALs and Tier 1 operators was seen as being highly expensive as compared to having, a bunch of 18, 20-year-olds who can just run, jump, and pick people up. with like very minimal medical skills.
I know that's right.
And that's where my regiment was kind of created. We went through SEER school and all the survival training, advanced weapons in a matter of like 6.5 months.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
I went to Eglin, I went to Tyndall, I went to Fairchild. And so I went from like northern Washington to southern Florida and a little bit of more training in high altitude in Clovis in 6 months. It was a lot, just compacted.
That's
Clovis,
crazy,
New Mexico,
man.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I know the pararescue guys, the Air Force pararescue guys go through the first half of the 18 Delta course, which is a 6-month medical training for the Special Forces medic. Because I spent a year in the first half of the 18 Delta course. I went through first half, 6 months, recycled, went through it again, 6 months, and then I was like, fuck, I want to be an 18 Bravo, the weapons sergeant.
Yeah.
So that was the week after 9/11 had happened too. So it was, I was more ready to be on a team than sit in class for another year. So that's awesome, man. I know, as I was the group personnel recovery manager, so I worked with all the branches and stuff. So I did work with a lot of guys from your branch that did what you do. So how was culinary school for people that are just interested in going themselves? I mean, I wouldn't want to be a chef, but I would love to go to culinary school just to learn the art of culinary, and so you can appreciate your food a lot more.
Yeah. It was okay. It was very, very slow paced, which just like kind of got on my nerves of just standing there and just watching videos and demos where I'm a very hands-on person learning how to do something. And like, I think we spent 2 hours because there are 40 people in the class. We spent 2 hours learning how to break down a chicken. And I'm like,
oh, okay.
I could have literally watched YouTube and seen 18 different ways of how to break down a chicken from 18 different countries in 2 hours instead of just one person.
Yeah.
A lot of history of where ideas come from that are borrowed. Nothing's really original. You get the idea that, like, even though the Italians say, oh, pizza, what we do to it is blah, blah, blah. I'm like, well, technically it was naan in Egypt. They were putting ingredients on top of a quick rice flatbread that was cooked over high heat. So,
do you get exposed? Do you get exposed to a lot of different spices and flavor, and you kind of develop a certain flavor palette?
They really, really focus on French cuisine because French is being seen as a high end, which I always joke, because it's people in white chef coats and they're white,
right?
And they don't like bringing racism into it. But I was like, well, to be honest, the oldest, finest culinary traditions in the world are Chinese. And we always want Chinese food to be cheap. Like, I don't want to spend this much for dumplings. Right? I don't want to spend this much for rice and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, well, who do you think taught the Italians how to make noodles? And who do you think taught the French how to, stop boiling meat? The Italians. So,
that's pretty interesting, man. I think you can learn a lot.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, it's just like it's a lot of recycling. Even the idea of, like, in Mexico, we cook in the Yucatan Peninsula, which is the furthest southeast. They cook something called cochinita pibil, which is a pig that is cooked underground. And in Michoacan, they do the same thing with roast, with beef and things like that, which they did in Afghanistan under blankets in the mountains. And that's how they survived. Cooking potatoes, cooking vegetables. They cooked everything underground. And that's how they survived for months. So I learned that when I was out there. I was like, that was insane. They had like 2 months worth of food just, cooked and then preserved.
That's cool.
Wow. That'd be good for, like if you're camping, try something like that. I mean, I remember wrapping corn and potatoes in aluminum foil and chunking them in the fire when I was a kid,
Well, yeah. And then, I'm sure they didn't know this in Vietnam, and that's why everybody could smell the Americans with their fried chicken and beef and ketchup. coming out of their pores. Whereas you cook that food underground, maybe not so much.
Right. And the food you eat so you do smell of that odor if you eat certain
that makes a lot of sense.
especially
Yeah,
with
that's
spices that are only specific. Like when we trained with the Indian Special Forces, oh my God, we found this Indian restaurant in near Yakima, Washington. They came out to Washington to train, and they were like, "Oh, we're so glad you found this place because your food here is so bland to us. You know, they eat such spiced up foods. You know, it's hard for them to just eat American food."
That's true.
So, well, with us being friends and all, I know you've gone through a lot and you've got issues and stuff that you deal with from your time in service. And how has cooking helped to give you something else to focus on?
It requires so much energy and focus sometimes in specific dishes that you can't really think about other things. Like, especially baking and pastries requires such precision on grams of, flour or sugar, eggs, whatever you're putting together, that it just kind of hones you in.
So does it give you like a
makes sense.
Peace of mind? And
it's something like
that's
fishing.
awesome. And then like an athlete. Well, you're an athlete too.
Yeah.
So it kind of gets you in the zone, doesn't it? Is it sort of the same thing?
That's cool.
Yeah. Yeah, it does. A lot of swimming, training, high intense workouts. It's like, this new generation, everybody's always worried about anxiety. I'm like, you know what? Anxiety doesn't exist when your heart beats 212 beats per minute. So go outside, go work out, and you just won't have anxiety. It just doesn't happen.
Unless anxiety is why your heart rate is 212.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
running from a bear, you've got anxiety.
Right.
But that's the fight or flight that I'm talking about. But yeah. Yeah. That's a good point. That is. So it's tough coming out of the Army and really establishing yourself. How hard was that for you, especially during COVID? I know you took a break from being a chef, didn't you? And during COVID for a little bit.
I did. I was just opening up a restaurant, and I had spent 3 months with, developing recipes, a menu, getting everything together. And we were open, I think, January 6th.
Oh my God.
And then the world shut down, March 13th?
Oh man, that sucks.
Yeah.
That was bad. That was just horrible timing, man.
Yeah.
But you've got back to where you are about to open up or is it already open? Or you were still
the place I am at right now, the grand opening is tomorrow, March 25th.
Oh, that's badass.
Excellent.
Yeah, we've been open for 3 weeks, but tomorrow's the official opening. So we're hoping that's
cool, man.
Gonna bring some revenue, some people checking out the ideas of what we put together.
Right.
That's cool.
Well, this episode of our podcast isn't going to be out for a couple of months, so we won't get to be helping you with your grand opening. But congratulations on it, though. By the way, so
congrats, brother.
That's awesome, man. So it takes quite a while to prepare for opening a restaurant, creating menus and stuff like that. I never even thought about all that. I guess that makes sense.
It's crazy. I wanted to be a chef too, man.
You made it through, and you made it through COVID. And last time when we talked, you had said that you had to take a job as a butcher for a little bit during that.
Yeah, time. with the restaurant closed, the butcher around the corner from my house was seen as like essential because we sold meat and stuff like that. So people would come through, get their fresh cut beef, pork, chicken, lamb. We had everything there.
Well, it seems to still play into your skills as a chef too, because you're
actually it upped my skills because
I'll bet. Yeah.
for majority of restaurants, I mean, we get pre-cut meat in bags and stuff like that. So
Gotcha.
Oh yeah.
getting a whole animal was something completely new.
I bet.
Oh man,
Yeah.
exciting.
I've skinned a deer before, and that's about as far as I've went. So.
All right.
So, Stevan, are there any tips that you can share that would liven up our garden bounty and make it more tolerable? Excuse me, make it more tolerable for people that aren't as likely to enjoy vegetables, and at the same time keep it kind of healthy or somewhat healthy, like maybe use an air fryer or avocado oil or something like that. What do you suggest?
Yeah, the air fryer is always good. It's an easy way to heat something up without using excessive amounts of oil.
And it's fast.
They're pretty fast because it's a small oven that like circulates air at a high pressure. It keeps things light, but you got to remember, keeping fat out of your diet is not exactly healthy. You need fat. That's what our brains use.
Right.
They use sugar and fat in order to operate, not caffeine. And heart healthy fats and brain healthy fats, something high in omegas, are really, really good to keep everything going and fluid. But when you come into the idea of like what fat looks like at a room temperature, that's what it's like in your body.
Right. Yeah.
So when you have like, Crisco or manteca, which is pork fat, and you see it at room temperature and it's thick, like, frosting, probably not the best thing to put inside your body.
Yeah.
That's so true, man.
So
Manteca.
So maybe olive oil, or cooking your vegetables in olive oil, and maybe even giving them a little more flavor with a pat of butter I wouldn't go a whole block of butter, but I do watch the channel a lot, and I see they use like shit tons of butter. Man.
Oh, they love their butter. They love their butter.
Butter and salt. That seems to be the big thing. Sunflower
oil is really good. Using different salts. You can smoked salts, some that are flavored, like with simple things like they use dehydrated lime zest, rosemary, different herbs, blend it into your salt. Really, really easy way to incorporate flavors into your food.
Now, I like to use sea salt, but what I know is that sea salt, you don't get the iodine that you do from table salt. So occasionally I'll add table salt, and I don't add much table salt. I've never added salt at all until I met my wife, and she adds salt.
See, I use sea salt.
It's still
I can't do table salt.
Not something that I do very often. People can see a fresher side of vegetables rather than something cooked half to death. And I've always liked vegetables. They're always pretty good. I've always eaten somewhat healthy. I can tolerate vegetables raw if I have to. If I feel like, but I still appreciate the taste of the food. One of our following episodes, we plan on doing mindful eating. Do you ever practice that? Or do you have time for that? I know, where you just take a piece of fruit in your mouth and you just kind of hold it there and you feel the texture, you feel let the. Oh,
I do it all the time because when I'm practicing recipes, I need to know one difference from something to another.
Sense.
Like strawberries. There's a lot of farms out here in San Diego that grow strawberries, and when we're using it for a dessert, we want the one that has the best flavor, the best shape, the best color. Like if we're going to present it on a table, it needs to look worthy of whatever the client's paying.
Yeah, definitely.
Makes sense.
Yeah. So what about people that are interested in cooking as a hobby? I think going to culinary school is probably a little overboard. Unless you got a whole year a lot of money and a lot of time just to if you're not planning on using it for. But if you want to become a good cook, do you suggest like watching YouTube videos or or watching the cooking shows and stuff like that.
Something that's relatable. You can see people use ingredients, how it's done, why they do what they do. But YouTube's definitely easy. Shows you technique. You don't need to spend all that money on those master classes and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
YouTube University.
That's a waste of money. There's somebody doing it for free on YouTube.
Yeah, I had the master class too. I watched Gordon Ramsay. It was him going fuck a lot, but
I mean, you got to sell.
There were some pretty good ones, but yeah, I'm sure there's plenty on YouTube. So before we wrap it up, can you tell us a little bit about your restaurant and where people can find out more?
So the upcoming restaurant, which we're trying to gain traction, and by the time this is ready to air, is going to be in Leucadia, which is south of Carlsbad, north of Encinitas.
That's California.
It's going to be called in California.
Yeah.
Near San Diego. It's called Pandora Kitchen. We're going to be making, pizzas from scratch, pastas, locally sourced animals for, steaks, chicken. We're going to be making our own coffee, brewing it on site.
Nice.
Wow.
Fresh juices. It's going to be two things in one. We're going to have like brunch, simple breakfast menus, and then we'll have
definitely got to come out there,
nicer, more casual dinner.
Nice.
That's cool.
Is there a webpage or anything?
Not yet. We're in development. I mean, we're still putting the paint on the walls.
Okay. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. Excellent. So, are you guys do you make tamales?
No. No tamales.
Oh man, I was just wondering.
That's too much work.
They always bring up this. That's exactly what I've always heard. Is tamales are just a pain in the ass to make, and they're not worth the cost of your labor because
they're not. They're so hard to sell. You make those for family.
That's true. That's true.
You can't make money off of them.
True.
They bring up this memory for me. When I was a kid, we went to a friend's house, this hippie who lived in the Four Corners near Colorado, in the southern Colorado desert. And we rode dirt bikes all day through the canyons. And we got to these Anasazi Indian ruins that are up in the cliffs. They're dug into the cliffs, and they're just amazing. And it was so hot that day that we cooked the tamales on the rocks right there in the sun, man. That's how we cooked them, and it was just so good. But it also brings me back, Mike, the host of the other host of this show. His wife would make tamales and bring them and sell them in the back of our company. Pasteles. When we were at First Special Forces Group, and I asked him when I visited last time if she made those still, and he said, no, exactly what you said, man, that they are too much of a pain in the ass. And I mean, there's too much work involved.
Right.
It is.
Well, Stevan, we really appreciate you taking time out of your day, man. Glad we could catch you, and good to touch base with you, man. It really is.
Thanks for having me.
Wish you the best of luck with your restaurant, and when I'm out to California, man, I'll come and try it out. I'll even pay for the meal.
I'll be there too, man.
I won't run out the door. So, yeah, man. Thanks for coming on, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, me too.
Take care.
Good catching up with you.
Yeah, good catching up with you, dude. That's it. If you want a bell.
So please leave your comments on Spotify in the Q&A section down below.
Don't forget to share our podcast to help us reach as many veterans and people who are in need.
You guys can check out this episode and others on our YouTube channel at Beyond 22 Podcast.
Soldier died by suicide. Death
Hearing today on military suicide prevention. Too many of our nation's heroes are taking their own lives, and we, as a nation, need to bring that to an end.